Hello again, everybody. Along with Joe Simpson, Skip Carey, welcoming you to another night of Atlanta Braves baseball, a historic night, if you will, the first night of interleague play for the Atlanta Braves and the Baltimore Orioles. Interleague play, a lot of people have an opinion on it. Who better to ask than the man who leads the major leagues in consecutive games?
I don't know. There's a certain anxiousness to me today that's kind of reserved for all-star games and postseason play. I don't know why. I mean, maybe it's the newness. Maybe it's, knowing, the potential of this series. I don't know, but there is a certain anxiety level that that I would interpret as being a little nervous that I usually only get for those all-star game type appearances.
As you know, that was Cal Ripken and Joe, the two best teams in baseball, one in each league, record-wise, meet here tonight.
Yeah, it's pretty exciting. Everybody I talked to before I came to the park tonight, Skip, very excited about this interleague play. And if tonight and during batting practice was any indication, more fans actually on the third base side, the Orioles side, during batting practice than on the Braves side.
It's going to be a lot of fun tonight. Key and Maddux, the pitchers, back with the starting lineups. Play-by-play story right after this.
Well, here we go with interleague play here at Turner Field. Here's the Tylenol, extra strength Tylenol starting lineup tonight for the Baltimore Orioles. Brady Anderson will lead it off and play center field. He'll be followed by Roberto Alomar and Rafael Palmeiro. Cal Ripken Jr. will bat cleanup at third base. B.J. Surhoff has been a hot hitter. He's in the left field batting fifth. Batting sixth, Jeffrey Hammonds. Bottom third of the order, Chris Hoyle is the catcher. Mike Bordick, the shortstop. And the pitcher is Jimmy Key, and he will bat tonight. For the Braves, a lineup change just seconds ago. And that has Andrew Jones in center field. Kenny Lofton is a scratch with back spasms. He will not play tonight. He will be available to pinch hit. Plesko and Tucker flank Jones. The infield is Chipper Jones, Blauser, Lemke, and McGriff. Eddie Perez, as usual, do the catching. And on the mound will be Greg Maddux for his 14th start of the year. June has not been kind to him, although he did pick up a win against the Giants in his last start out at Candlestick Park on the 7th. He went 8 strong innings, gave up only 2 hits and 2 runs. Actually came out of that ball game trailing, only to have some help from his bench, who picked up some runs for him while he was still the pitcher of record to get the win. He walked 1 and struck out 6. His numbers for the year, he is 7-2, a 2.01 ERA. And he and Jimmy Key have a lot of similarities, but one of them is their overall career record. Greg Maddux is 172 and 106. Jimmy Key 174 and 105. So these guys know what they're doing when they get out there, and they'll try to hook up tonight in a good one in the interleague contest. A veteran behind the plate in Harry Wendelstedt, Paul Nord at first, Randy Marsh at second, Jeff Kellogg at third base. A beautiful night for baseball and one of our warmer nights of the year here in Atlanta for the first interleague game. And Brady Anderson set the lead off, and here to tell you about it, Skip Carey.
Okay, Joe, thank you very much. Brady, a year ago, 50 home runs from the leadoff spot. This year, just 6 home runs, but he's hitting .315. He's been on base in 52 of the 59 games he's played. And the first pitch to him, high and away, in the first interleague game involving the Braves and the Orioles is underway. The 1-0 pitch. High pop. Somebody should get it in short left field. On comes Plesko. He calls for it. 1 out. Brady Anderson is retired. The American League, by the way, has won 4 of the first 5 games. They won 3 out of 4 yesterday, and Milwaukee beat the Cubs. The only afternoon game today. 4-2 was the final score in that game. Here's Roberto Alomar, who still gets booed wherever he goes. Enough already. Let the guy up. 87 degrees at game time, by the way. Summertime has finally arrived in Atlanta. Alomar hitting .289, and he chops 1 to short. A big high hop for Blauser. 2 out. And it's obvious that Baltimore is going to the plate the same way National League teams do. Nothing to wait around for. You know he's going to throw strikes.
First pitch strike a lot from Greg Maddux, and they're going to wait to get behind in the count.
Here's a guy who I think was a former teammate of Greg's over with the Cubs, Rafael Palmeiro.
Davey Johnson, you got a glimpse of him. You know that he has given them a strong scouting report on how Maddux likes to pitch. He saw enough of him in the National League.
And the Braves meeting today normally lasts about 15 minutes. There's about 40 minutes today. Well hit into right center field. A long run for Michael Tucker. He battles the sun and makes the catch. And the top of the first is quickly over. We go to the bottom half. Baltimore nothing. Atlanta coming to bat.
Well, the Orioles go 1, 2, 3. Now here's to the Orioles starting pitcher Jimmy Key will face tonight. Jeff Blauser now at the top of the order with the scratch of Kenny Lofton. Michael Tucker and Chipper Jones the first three. Fred McGriff the cleanup hitter. Andrew Jones in the lineup is batting fifth tonight. He'll be followed then by Eddie Perez, Ryan Klesko, Mark Lemke, and then the pitcher Greg Maddux. For the Baltimore Orioles in the outfield, B.J. Surhoff, Brady Anderson, and Jeffrey Hammonds left to right. Cal Ripken's at third base. Mike Fordick, a slick fielding shortstop. Roberto Alomar is at second. Rafael Palmeiro, a real good first baseman also for the Orioles. Chris Hoyles will do the catching, and on the mound is Jimmy Key, 36 years old, 6'1", 190. His record a year ago at this stage, still fresh off of rotator cuff surgery, but he bounced back to beat the Braves in the World Series in Game 6 and has an overall postseason record of 3-1 against Atlanta.
He's sort of a left-handed Maddux, as Joe suggested, and his first pitch to Blauser is high and outside. 1 ball, no strikes. He was 2-0 for Toronto against us, 1-1 against us with the Yankees in World Series play. Over the outside corner, it's 1-1. He's a dart thrower. He's got great control.
And he's coming off one of his best starts of the year. A season-high 9 strikeouts against the White Sox. Beat him 2-1 on the 8th.
He's out of Huntsville, Alabama. Makes his home now in Tarpon Springs, Florida. 2 balls and a strike, and he's taking a bride. The day of the All-Star game has already said, count me out as far as All-Star participation is concerned. Ground ball to third. Ripken has it. 1 out.
Today's game is part of the Cap Cure Home Run Challenge. Cap Cure, the Association for the Cure of Cancer of the Prostate, is committed to finding a cure for the disease that 1 in 5 Americans is at risk of developing in his lifetime. Each home run hit during tonight's game will mean that at least $35,000 will go directly to prostate cancer research. If you'd like information about reducing the risk of prostate cancer or want to pledge your support to Cap Cure, call 1-800-547-CURE.
Okay, Joe, and here's Michael Tucker. Line drive, left field. There's the first interleague hit. In quickly, B.J. Surhoff, and he holds Tucker at first. So the Braves have a runner aboard with 1 out, and Chipper Jones will face Jimmy Key. Chipper at 286, but he's gotten the bat going in recent days.
Did you talk to a lot of folks today about today's game?
Continually.
And it seemed like everybody is really excited about it, aren't they?
Well, a fan called in on our talk show tonight, Joe, and he probably put it better than I had thought of. Game 6 of the NBA Finals tonight, and on all the talk shows in Atlanta, all you hear about is what's the deal on interleague play. To first, he's got a great move over there, runner back.
And we have a packed house. Standing room only tickets were sold. The mural is up out in the Chop House.
Yeah. Won't be long till that stadium club is going. Every time we come back, something's different. Now it's had a paint job. Tucker back easily. And Key ready to go to work. It's a 1:15 game tomorrow. It will be on Fox TV and the Braves radio network. We'll be back with you Sunday. Chipper took a shot at right field, fouled it into the club level.
You know, Jimmy Key has been compared a lot to Tom Glavine about the way they pitch, and in some respects the similarities are almost frightening. Lefties hit him better than right-handers, and maybe it's because he can't use his changeup as much to lefties, and Michael Tucker started things for Atlanta with a base hit.
I've never quite understood that theory. If you've got a good change, no matter which side the guy hits from, you're going to have him off balance. Strike at the knees, 0-2.
But the room for error is greater. If you miss to a right-handed batter, you're just throwing it in the left-handed batter's box. If it sinks down and back to the plate, suddenly it's a hittable pitch for a left-handed batter.
The 0-2 to Chipper with Michael Tucker edging away at first. Nowhere near. A ball and 2 strikes. Hoyles has had some trouble throwing runners out. You might see Atlanta run tonight. If you just joined us and wondered what in the world Jeff Blauser was doing leading off, Kenny Lofton some back spasms right before the game. I mean, they didn't change it till I think our billboard was already rolling. A 1-2 pitch instead to first. So Kenny's back in the training room now, I would guess, with Dave Kersley. And they hope he'll be able to swing a bat later in the night. 1-2 the count. Good cut, but he fouled it back. Again, on that talk show, I started reading off tonight's schedule. You feel like you're loaded.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Or it's spring training, one of the two. Everybody's interleague tonight.
It's up in the Coca-Cola Sky Field.
Through to first, runner back. Palmeiro holds the runner on. The 1-2 pitch. Got him. Made him look bad. He chased the pitch way out of the strike zone. Looks like he turned that ball over. 2 down.
We've been talking about how good these two ball clubs are and hooked up. Look at some of the comparisons in their rankings in the American and National League. There's the record, tops in each league. ERA, tops in each league. Average at or near the top of each league. And the Orioles certainly don't have any trouble scoring runs because they're 5th in the American League in home runs. And they have the best bullpen, too, by the way, in the American League. Top-ranked bullpen. So they get the job done when they have to come in relief.
And in their bullpen, some old friends from National League days. Randy Myers, Jesse Orozco, Terry Matthews, Sean Bosky, all used to labor in our league. 2 out, a runner at first. There he goes. Strike. Stolen base. Tucker's 8 out of 10 in that department, and he's in scoring position.
Looked like he guessed right on the move by Key. He went on his first move and had 3 or 4 steps by the time Jimmy let the ball go.
In fairness to Hoyles, he had no chance at all to throw the runner out. So a McGriff hit could give Atlanta the lead. Andrew Jones is on deck. Low and away, 1-1 the count.
Key's out of Clemson University. 3rd round pick by the Blue Jays back in '82. And speaking of Blue Jays, former Blue Jay general manager Pat Gillick here at the park tonight was saying hello to former Blue Jay Fred McGriff around the batting cage.
The 1-1 breaking ball outside. 2 balls and a strike. There's Pat Gillick, now the general manager in Baltimore. Built that dynasty in Toronto.
Flanked by Kevin Malone, the assistant GM, formerly of Montreal.
Just missed inside. 3-1. He had Fred all tied up, and he missed the strike zone. 3 balls and a strike. Runner at second, 2 out, first inning. Fouled it back to the screen. Just taking a quick look, you would think you might want to go the other way against Key.
I think that's where a lot of right-handers get in trouble trying to pull him, like they try to pull Glavine. And it looked like Fred had the outside part of the plate covered pretty well.
So a payoff pitch is due. The Atlanta first baseman. Scoreless, bottom of the first. Runner at second, 2 out. Just missed inside. Took another shot in there. Didn't get it. 2 on, 2 out. And Andrew Jones will be the batter.
He doesn't walk many. A 2-to-1 strikeout to walk ratio, but that's his 29th of the year.
And he didn't give in to McGriff at all. He was going to either hit his pitch or he would walk him and take his chance with a young right-hander. Joe just mentioned it. He handles right-handers, generally speaking, better than left-handers. Tomorrow afternoon, John Smoltz and Mike Mussina will pitch, and Sunday, Tom Glavine against Scott Erickson. Then we go to Toronto to play 3 with the designated hitter rule in effect. Andrew chops it weakly toward third, but foul. 0-1. 2 on, 2 out.
Talk about a guy that was hounded before the ball game. The third baseman for the Orioles, one request after another. He did everything in his power to accommodate interview seekers like myself. very professional, very gentlemanly. But he said, you know, I've got a new ballpark here in my regular routine. I've got to get ready to play tonight.
There goes a runner to third. The pitch is low, and there'll be no throw. And Tucker, you have to be sure to steal that base, and he obviously was. So now he is 9 of 11 in that department.
He measured Jimmy Key perfectly. Key wasn't paying much attention to him with 2 outs. The only downside to this is that Fred wasn't watching and didn't break with him.
The 1-1 pitch. Into the dirt, pops away, but not far enough. 2 balls and a strike.
And that's a situation where you think, well, that guy stealing third base, he's in really no better position because it takes a base hit to score him. But if you get a wild pitch, that's a different story.
Well, if Andrew Jones handles American League pitching this weekend as well as he did in the World Series, we should be in pretty good shape.
Andy Pettit gave up 2 long ones to him.
The 2-1. Swung, grounded to short, should be out of the inning. Bordick to Alomar, and the inning is over. So the Braves threaten, but they fail to score. A hit, no runs, no errors, 2 left. At the end of an inning, zip, zip.
Those are the kind of challenges that that in one way the baseball side of you would like to meet or try to live up to a challenge like that, because now you're facing the baseball's best. On the other side of it, you know, you almost want to look at the paper and hope that Maddux pitched yesterday.
First pitch grounder to second. Funny hop. Lemke has it. Throws out Cal Ripken, who is playing in his 2,378th straight game tonight.
And what a great greeting. A standing ovation from the fans here in Atlanta.
And there are a lot of Baltimore fans here, too. A lot of tours were arranged last winter. People bust down here from Baltimore to see this historic weekend. And they're serving, I understand, crab cakes and Boog Powell barbecue at some of the concession stands tonight to welcome the Baltimore fans.
Yeah, the taste of the major leagues.
B.J. Surhoff, a red-hot hitter, takes it low and away. 1 ball, no strikes. He's hitting .342. He's driven in 40 runs, has 8 homers, and he's driven in 7 runs in his last 5 games. Over the outside corner, it's 1-1. That's a base hit into right center field, so he stays hot. Michael Tucker gets it back in, and Surhoff is aboard with a 1 out. And Jeffrey Hammonds, another hot hitter, will be the batter. He's hitting .423 on this Baltimore road trip.
They signed Eric Davis, the former National Leaguer, to a free agent contract over the winter. But Eric is on the disabled list with an abscess in his abdomen that's going to require some surgery. And while he has been gone, Hammonds and Tony Tarasco have been splitting some time out in the outfield. They're both playing well.
Hammond stands in there at .293 on the year with 7 homers. 1 on, 1 out. Pop foul back and out of play. 0-1 the count. You know, you never cease to amaze me. The 0-1 pitch to Hammond's about to be made. They chase the runner back.
Pays to have friends, you know,
in high places, like the club level. The 0-1 pitch. Strike call over the outside corner. Joe forgot that it gets dark at night and wore his sunglasses in the park and neglected to bring the other one.
Good thing O'Kinney and Marie Hallman were coming to the game and ran a shuttle service for me.
The 0-2, here it is. Swung, double play ball, maybe. Blauser up on one knee. Lemke handles it beautifully, and they turn it. 6-4-3, and the inning is over just like that. Pitcher's best friend there, 1 hit, but no runs and no errors and no one left. We go to the bottom of the second. No score.
broadcasting rights granted by the Atlanta National League Baseball Club and is intended solely for the entertainment of our audience. Any publication, rebroadcast, retransmission of the pictures or descriptions of this game without the express written consent of the Atlanta National League Baseball Club is prohibited.
And Eddie Perez leads off the second inning. You look at the capacity crowd. That looks like the Chop House. And Key goes to work against the right-hand hitting catcher who takes just outside. 1 ball, no strikes. I think a couple things ought to be said about interleague play. First of all, it's an experiment. People should remember that. It's a 2-year experiment. And then the players and owners will get together, hopefully, and have a reasonable discussion about what they think of it. So those of you who are so bitterly against it, all is not lost. It is an experiment. I don't see how anyone can fault that. And number 2, I think some people really believe these are exhibition games, and they're not. The 2-0 pitch popped up. Who wants it? Mike Bordick calls for it right behind the mound. 1 out. This is just like playing the Cardinals or playing the Dodgers or playing the Giants. It counts in the standings if you win, and it counts against you if you lose.
Did you hear Mark Wohler's suggestion?
No.
I thought it was a great idea. He said, you know, if you want teams or cities to get the real flavor of the other league, then in the National League cities you ought to play with the DH.
Yeah, that is a great idea. I did hear that.
In American League cities ought to play with the pitcher's batting.
It makes so much sense.
Too good.
Maybe next year they'll do that.
Too good of an idea.
Klesko at 250, 11 homers, 31 RBIs. He's had his troubles against left-handers. He was not in the original starting lineup. He's hitting .208 against left-handers. 2 home runs. A ball and a strike. Mark Lemke waits on deck. We are scoreless. On the corner. So Ryan in the hole, a ball and 2 strikes. This is not the left-hander you would ideally want him to face. He pops that up on the infield. Ripken should handle it in foul territory. 2 out. Those are 2 of the softest pop flies you'll ever see, but that's the way Key pitches. There's Mark Lemke.
I think coming out of this series, runs obviously will be at a premium. You start thinking about how you can, figuring out ways you can win the ball game, knowing your average is going to suffer because not only are the Braves and Orioles each facing 3 tough pitchers, but the Braves go to Toronto and they're going to get Roger Clemens Monday night. That'll be fun. And we'll have that one for you on the Superstation. The Lemmer takes a strike over the outside corner. The Cardinals today activated outfielder Brian Jordan from the 15-day disabled list, and they optioned Micah Franklin back to Louisville. 0-2 the count to the Atlanta second baseman. 2 out, nobody aboard. It's what you would have expected, a pitcher's duel to this point. That didn't miss by much. Does he throw a screwball? It looks like it. No, but it's a very typical Jimmy Key sequence. 2 fastballs that had some movement that caught the corner, then he moves a little bit farther off the plate, cut the ball down in a way that made it look like a screwball.
Right over the inside corner. He just carved him up. That was reminded you of Greg Maddux, brother. 1, 2, 3, nothing doing. At the end of 2, no score.
The top of the 3rd inning here at Turner Field. Now let's take a look at the Pearl Vision best looking play of the week. And the guy who picked up Greg Maddux in that game at San Francisco was Andrew Jones, who blasted a 3-run homer in the 9th that gave the Braves the lead for good. Congratulations to Andrew on the best looking play of the week.
Chris Hoyles leads things off in the 3rd inning. Hoyles hitting just 143 on the road trip, which is an 11-game, 10-day trip for Baltimore. This is the end of it. Overall, though, he's hitting .293. Stands right on top of the plate. And doesn't get it. 0-1. Ernie Johnson is featured in the June issue of Chop Talk. Our dear friend. Like my big brother. Big story on Ernie in the June issue of Chop Talk. The 0-1 pitch. Lined into center field. On comes Andrew. Diving catch. One out and a great play. He can pick it in center field. That's his natural position. One out.
Got a great jump, too, on a low line drive. We've talked before about how those line drives hit right at you are the toughest to read. This one actually a little bit to his left, so he got a good bead and timed it perfectly.
Anyway, if you want to read about Ernie, call 1-800-700-CHOP to subscribe to the official monthly magazine of the Braves. 1-800-700-CHOP. The pitch to Mike Bordick is a strike. Bordick hitting just .208 for the year, but he's outstanding defensive shortstop. Joe, you've seen him a good bit, haven't you?
Well, he's one of those guys that you don't pay much attention to because he just does it without a lot of flair. He doesn't have to work real hard at it. Has good range. Last year was leading the American League in fielding for Oakland, then ran into a spell where he made a bunch of errors in about a 2-week period, cost him a Gold Glove.
Hits that one foul into the seats. His defense is what keeps him in the lineup. But he's a career .258 hitter. All with Oakland until this year.
He was the reason the A's allowed Walt Weiss to leave.
Boy, he got jammed there. Maddux should throw him out. And does. 2 down. And here's Jimmy Key, who has hit before, of course, in World Series action. Jim Schultz not here tonight, the Braves PR man. His stepson Kevin is graduating from Fayette County High School. Jim Beecham's not here. He's got a graduation in the family as well. And we hope things go well for both of them. 2 out as Key stands in. Strike on the outside corner. I think Mr. Key's thankful. He wants every pitch right about there.
Well off the plate, as they say. And trying to get farther.
Same spot, 0-2. Gabe Simpson and Josh Carey among those at the ballpark tonight, rooting for the Braves. The 0-2 pitch. He hit that one over by the... And the crowd gives him a hand. They know he hasn't hit before.
He looked down at Chipper Jones and threw his palms up like, well, got a piece of one.
Not that one, though, buddy. And the inning is over. Maddux records his first strikeout. 1-2-3, nothing doing. Bottom half of the 3rd inning. No score in the ballgame.
Let's take a look at the Ream leaderboard. The all-time consecutive games played streak, of course, held by Cal Ripken. That's been extended tonight. And what about the night when he passed Lou Gehrig's mark in Baltimore at Camden Yards? Another one of those historic, remember where you were when you saw this, as the fans in Baltimore honored Cal Ripken, and so did baseball.
Well, I don't know if he saved baseball like that banner said, but he came pretty darn close. It didn't hurt.
No, it didn't.
In those dark days. And Maddux leads it off against him. Strike outside corner. It's Maddux, Blauser, and Tucker in the 3rd.
Jimmy Key looked at it, Maddux, after he struck him out with a curveball, almost like that wasn't fair. Let's see if Maddux gets one in this at bat.
Oh, very well. The 0-1. Fastball, foul back, 0-2. Neither of these guys mess around. They just go about their business. No score, bottom of the 3rd. Kansas City leads the Pirates 2-0 after 2. White Sox 1-0 over the Reds after 2. Yankees and Mets scoreless after 3. Minnesota failed to score in the 1st at Houston. Well, that sounds funny. Cleveland and St. Louis just started.
Last night when I caught the end of that Giants-Rangers game, that looked funny. The San Francisco logo next to the Rangers logo, just strange.
Chopper, Ripken can't cut it off, but it doesn't bother Bordick. Nice play, 1 out. What made that play tough was Ripken flashing in front of him and shielding him from the ball for a moment, but no problem.
I think maybe the fact that the ball came up for him a little bit too allowed him to see the ball a little bit better, even though it got past Ripken.
Here's Jeff Blauser, who grounded to 3rd his first time. Incidentally, the play-by-play man on that game last night was Chip Carey. Did an exceptional job, I thought.
I've heard of him.
Yes.
Yes, he did.
Made his old man proud. Key ready to go to work. Up the middle, through there. Blauser has himself a hit on the first pitch. So he's on with one out for Tucker, who dropped a single to left his first time.
He hit a breaking ball, and as soon as it skipped off the side of the mound past Jimmy Key, Key was already shaking his head. High curve ball, and Key right there already shaking his head. No, can't do that.
Michael Tucker, the batter. That's what cracks me up the most about Maddux. When you come to the ballpark, there's only one really quiet time, and that's when the ball is being delivered by the pitcher. Foul tipped at home plate. That got Hoyles, and it's 0-1. I haven't been able to hear it yet at this ballpark, but at the old ballpark, just as he releases the ball, Maddux knows if he's made a mistake, and you can hear him say rack-a-frets before the ball gets to home plate. It's just the only sound in the park. Greg says rack-a-frets.
Yeah, he does. He puts them together sometimes, too.
The Yankees in Florida scoreless after 4.5. The Yanks have one hit. Florida doesn't have any. David Cohn and Al Leiter pitching that game. We're going to do the scores in another half inning, but one that I'm pretty sure they've left out. Ty Domi has just kicked a 15-yard field goal, and Hamilton leads Toronto 7-3 with 14:28 left, second quarter in the CFL. Tucker's eyes are bothering him again. They dry out on him. This time he might have gotten a gnat or something flying around.
Last night, the American League able to come from behind in all those games that they won. In fact, Colorado led the Mariners 6-0 in the second inning. Mariners won at 12-11.
He had a home run cut, but he didn't get the breaking ball. It's 0-2, and that was out in the Kingdome. It wasn't in Colorado. Great catch, double play, the result. Palmeiro took a base hit away from Tucker. Looked like that ball was by him, but he got to it, made a fine play. And Blauser had nowhere to hide, and the inning is over. One hit, no runs, no errors, none left. After 3, no score. Ball 0-1.
And I can't even say and over in the American League.
No, you can't. The Orioles, by the way, have won 10 of their last 14, though they lost the last couple in Boston. Anderson pops it foul back, and it's 0-2.
Strange thing about their record.
Why am I doing play-by-play by the way?
Well, I don't know if that's all right. But their record against the East, they are 12-5, and all 5 of their losses have been to the last place Boston Red Sox.
And here with the play-by-play story, Joe Simpson.
And a call strike 3 to Brady Anderson.
I'll get the first 2 strikes, and you finish them up.
Setting them up. Strikeout number 2 for Maddux.
He threw him a fastball. It moved right back over the plate, over that inside corner. That's his stock and trade. Here's Alomar again.
Getting booed again. He grounded his short his first time up. Went after the first pitch. Let's see if he does so again. Takes this time, and it's low. I think Maddux has gotten wise to that a little bit too, and he's starting them with some off-speed stuff. Alomar has faced Maddux quite a bit though after his days in the National League. 1-1.
Well, when he was young, I'm sure he can still cover a lot of ground now, but when he first came up, he was something to watch.
He was everywhere. He was like a bug on the water. Again to Blauser. 2 out. Alomar now 6 hits and 25 at bats lifetime against Greg Maddux. And Rafael Palmeiro, the batter, he's been a hot hitter. 12 out of his last 13. That includes 3 homers and 12 RBIs. Fly to right his first time. This guy is a professional hitter. Way inside, ball 1. When he was with the Cubs, he and Mark Grace came up at about the same time, didn't they, Skip?
He was an outfielder.
Yeah.
Palmeiro was.
Or was he having to play the outfield because of Mark Grace? What was the story there?
I think it was sort of a combination.
Tough play for Lemke. Got him. Nice play. Braves have turned in some good efforts on the infield behind Maddux. 1, 2, 3. The Orioles down again here in the fourth. We go to the bottom half. No score.
Time for our Aflac trivia question. Who replaced Lou Gehrig at first base, breaking his string of 2,130 consecutive games played? We'll have the answer in a half inning. I got a hint for you. His nickname was Babe.
Think about that one as Chipper Jones stands in to start the fourth. He struck out in the first inning against Jimmy Key. No score. The Orioles have a base hit from B.J. Surhoff. The Braves have hits from Tucker and Jeff Blauser. If you just joined us, Kenny Lofton, a late scratch with back spasms, not playing tonight. The 1-0 to Chipper, off the end of the bat, foul. Chipper had a good series in Colorado. Got some of his average bat. Went 5 for 12. You saw the graphic earlier. 2 doubles, 2 homers, and 6 RBIs. Stole a base in that series too to give him 9 on the year. 2 balls, 1 strike. Jimmy Key, a 4-time All-Star, getting a lot of run support. That's one of the reasons he's 10-1. 3-1 to Jones. He's getting over 7 runs a game to support his effort. But he's averaging 6 1/3 innings per start, 1 complete game this year. 3-2. Big swing by Chipper.
You think you see the ball and you have a great swing at it, but you don't often find yourself centering on it, do you?
No, and I think the plane of his pitches is such that you think the ball is on you a little quicker than it really is too. That's why you start early. That one got in on Chipper a little bit. Still a full count. And by the plane, I'm talking about his arm angle when he cuts it loose, because he's not deceptive in terms of his release point. I think hitters can see it pretty well, but he's a master at moving the ball around, putting different spins on it to make it move in and out. An easy comebacker. And even on a 3-2 count, he took a little off the pitch, and Chipper was out in front. Fred McGriff drew a walk in the first inning that put runners at first and second with 2 out. Michael Tucker stole third, his second stolen base of the first inning. And then with runners at the corners, Andrew Jones grounded out and into a forced play to end the inning. Fred with a good road trip. He hit .344. 2 homers, 6 RBIs. One and 0. Good breaking ball. 1-1. Chris Hoyle's the catcher for the Orioles. A good story in that he's kind of like the John Smoltz story for the Braves. He was acquired in one of those late season trades. 2-1. They got him from Detroit along with Robinson Garces and Cesar Mejia, 2 pitchers, in exchange for Freddie Lynn when the Tigers were trying to make a late season push back in '88. Two 2-1 to McGriff. Didn't go. 3-1.
You know what you were talking about, how he doesn't throw as hard as it looks like he throws. Maybe that's why Fred's back off the plate a little bit tonight. Looks like he's further away than he was when he was hitting well on the road trip.
Boy, he is. He's almost out of the box. He walked him again. Key thought he had a strike. Did he go? No, he didn't on the appeal to Jeff Kellogg at third base. McGriff draws his second walk. That looked like a pretty good pitch to begin with.
Yes, it did. There's Ray Miller, longtime Pirate pitching coach.
Let's see here. Target on the outside corner. A little low.
Yeah, I guess that's it.
At the plate, but a little low. Ray Miller back with the Orioles, too. He was their longtime pitching coach before getting the managing job with the Minnesota Twins years ago. Andrew Jones hit into the force play in the first inning. Now hitting .276. One of the nice things about Turner Field these days, Skip, is being able to come early and take in all that's offered out in center field especially. But if you get here early enough when the Braves are still taking batting practice, you ought to make an effort to watch Andrew Jones take batting practice if you can.
Yeah, he Klesko and Lopez.
Nice stop by Hoyles.
Javi hit one about halfway up in fair territory into the what is the club level, the second level in left field.
Did he really?
Yeah, in batting practice. He was about 50 feet away from hitting it up into that Coca-Cola sky field.
2-0 pitch. Right on the corner. Didn't give in. He just painted it on the strike.
Yeah, that's about where he hit it, in that second section over there in fair territory. That doesn't count for the $1 million batting practice.
No, but that's still crushed. Jimmy Key obviously aware that Fred McGriff might take off. Stolen 3 times this year. The 2-1 pitch to Andrew. 3-1.
He's got to have his control to be effective, much like Lavin, Maddux.
He's just a carbon copy of those guys.
Yes. A John Smoltz type pitcher can get away with his location being off sometimes because of his velocity.
He's just a little bit older. He's 36. And walked Andrew, missed badly. 2 on, 1 out for Eddie Perez. And the watchful eye of Ray Miller, the pitching coach.
Now, if you're manager Bobby Cox, let's try to first guess him. What do you do here? You've got a slow running catcher at the plate. You've got Klesko, who popped up his first time, and Lemke, who struck out his first time, next. You've got runners at first and second and nobody out. Klesko ordinarily does not hit left-handers well. Lemke has had eye troubles, and then you think of all that, and then you decide, do I bunt with Perez or don't I?
I don't think you do with 1 out. Nobody out, yeah. I think you play for 1 run in this ball game to give Maddux a lead, but
that's right. I forgot there was an out, so forget the whole thing.
Well,
he shortened the putt for a hit, I surmise.
Yeah, he had Ripken playing very deep. I don't think that was a sacrifice thought going through his head, and Bobby also wondering what's going on.
See, I really know this game, Joe.
You're right on it. Ripken backs up again. Good moving fastball for a strike, 1-1. Andrew Jones and Rafael Palmeiro and Pat Corrales having a nice chat at first base too as this is all going on. Two on, 1 out. In the air to right, and Hammond's under it. McGriff is tagging, but I don't think he's going to try to advance. He's not. 2 out now for Ryan Klesko. Yankees are on the board down at Joe Robbie Stadium. Bernie Williams has singled to drive in a run. Yankees lead 1-0, top of the 6th. Do we know if Florida has a hit yet? They do. 1 hit. Okay, so the no-hitter by David Cone is gone.
Next year we'll go up to Camden Yards, huh? I've never seen that park. I'm really looking forward to it.
Camden Yards and Tiger Stadium next year. This year the Braves get to check out Sky Dome again and Fenway Park. Brian Klesko up there for his second at bat, fouled out his first time.
And Yankee Stadium again, of course.
McGriff at second, Andrew Jones at first. 1-1. As long as Ryan thinks about trying to hit Jimmy Key to left center, he could have some success against him tonight, especially early in the count. The 1-1. Just off the plate. Missing by fractions.
There are those who say that National League umpires have a larger strike zone than American League umpires. Is that true, do you think? You've been in both leagues.
I think they're more pitchers umpires, yes.
Interesting.
By and large, there are exceptions to the rule. 3-1. And I'm sure you'd get arguments from both sides, but that may tell you a little bit about why games are longer in one league than the other two.
Yeah.
3-1 pitch. Good one for Ryan to swing at. But really didn't get a good pitch to hit, even 3-1. It was up, but barely reachable. Full count. Now McGriff and Jones can run. That is an advantage for the Braves. Maddux getting a nice rest in the Braves dugout no matter what happens.
Oh, a ground ball over third, we'd be in business.
Ripken shifted way over toward the second base bag. There go the runners. Struck him out. High fastball went up around the letters, and Jimmy Key records his third strikeout, and it's a big one. He leaves two runners out there. We go to the fifth. Still no score. We go to the top half of the fifth inning. Greg Maddux will face Cal Ripken for the second time. Ripken chased the first pitch for a ground out in the second inning. And the flash bulbs fly here at the ballpark. Call strike one.
That's reminiscent of a World Series or playoff game, too, and that's the greatness of Ripken.
It's nice to hear a guy who's played as long as he has admit that he was feeling the anxiety associated with special events, special games in baseball.
It's a good thing a hitting coach didn't get to him when he was a young man and tell him you can't hit with the bat on your shoulder like that.
But he's had several stances.
Has he?
He's made a lot of adjustments as his career has gone on. He didn't used to hit this way. What a play by Chipper, running away from the infield, backpedaling almost, and made an accurate throw over to McGriff to get him.
Boy, that infield is hard. The ball's really hopping. And he threw him out. Our Aflac trivia question earlier was, who replaced Lou Gehrig when his string was over? And the answer is Babe Dahlgren. The year of my birth.
Boy, that was a long time ago.
Yes, it was.
B.J. Surhoff grounded out, or line to base hit his first time up.
See, you got just what you deserved there.
I was trying to really get away from that in a hurry, wasn't I?
Yeah, I know.
Lines another one to right, but this time Tucker has it for the out. 2 down. Back to Ripken. He used to hold his hands away from his body and back towards his back foot, but he didn't rest the bat on his shoulder quite as much as he's doing now, and maybe it's just one of those things he has picked up, as maybe his hands have slowed down a little.
Probably. Yeah,
To
you would
compensate.
figure that they would be slow by this time in his career.
I was talking to him before the game, doing a radio interview. I told him, I said, you know, I was in center field the night that Mike Moore of the Mariners hit you right in the head. I said, I don't know if that was the last time you sat out a game or not. He said, well, the next day I didn't play of that game. This is Jeffrey Hammonds, who hit into a double play his first time. He said, but Earl Weaver did set me down the next day, mostly because I was hitting about 160. He said, fortunately, I haven't got to a problem where I've been hitting about 160 since then. And I said, or have been hitting the head? He goes, no, I've actually been hitting the head again since then.
And right now in their dugout, he and his teammates are talking about how do you hit Greg Maddux. They haven't solved the riddle yet, any more than we've solved the riddle on Jimmy Key.
2-1 to Hammonds. Hit hard. One hopper off the glove of Lemke. He was trying to play the short hop, but couldn't come up with it. We'll see how they scored. Tough chance for Mark at second base.
Every time that happens now, whether fairly or unfairly, you wonder if it's because of that little eye problem, that floater that he's got. I don't know. It came up on him a little bit, and they scored a hit.
Some of the fans boo on that, but that was an extremely tough chance. And the way the ball came up, tough to handle. 2 hits for each side.
As the infield seems harder than normal tonight, doesn't it?
I'll tell you something about that in just a second. Cal Ripken, as Hoyle steps in. Ripken, when he went out to take his ground balls to check out the infield, bounced a ball off the diamond, and it bounced twice as high as he is. He's 6'5". So yes, I would say it's pretty hard. 1 on, 2 out. Hoyle's line to center his first time.
It's still wet too. I mean, they watered it very heavily.
It's not. I don't know if it's that as much as it's that the Braves have been on the road for a week. Hasn't had that much play. Hasn't had anybody spiking it up to soften it up a little bit on top.
Aerate it or something.
Hoyle's hit 25 homers last year. Drove in 73. His career high 93 when he hit 29 homers and hit 310. Greg's having a real hard time getting the ball over the plate, isn't he?
Yeah.
Key has walked 3, but no runs allowed. 1 and 2 the count to Hoyles, who's not sure about that call. Hammonds has good speed at first. And Eddie was ready in case Hammonds was running. 2 and 2 the count. Maddux has retired the Orioles in the minimum a number of batters to this point, with the exception of Hammonds, thanks to the double play they turned after Surhoff had singled in the second. I don't know about you. I was just glad to feel a good warm day here for baseball in Atlanta.
It's really the first baseball day we've had in the middle of June.
Eddie wants the fastball away, and I'm sure that's where he'll get it. 2-2 pitch, right at the target, fouled off.
But you know, all those cool days, Mother Nature has a way of making up for it here.
Wouldn't it be nice if we could just pick 2 or 3 of those out and scatter them through the summer somehow?
Yes, it would. Doesn't work like that, though, buddy.
That's what I hear. Braves are playing Hoyle straight away, with a runner at first and 2 out. Everybody's still scouting away. Sal Butera, the advanced scout for the Toronto Blue Jays, here to take in this series for his ball club, with the Braves coming in next Monday. There goes Hammonds. Swing and a miss. Hoyle's down on strikes. That's 3 for Maddux. And we've played 4 1/2. No runs, a hit, 1 left. We go to the bottom of the 5th. Heat and Don heading your way on the Superstation. No score from Atlanta.
Welcome back. Don Sutton, Pete Van Wieren with you the rest of the way. And Pete, though you and I might have a different philosophy on interleague play, I think we agree it could not have started any better.
No, this is a great pitching matchup. You watch a game like this with these 2 artists out there going at one another, and you'll understand how hard it must be if you're a Colorado Rockies fan to go to Coors Field. You never get to see this. All you see is 8-6 and 10-8 and 11-9 and 9-6 kind of games. You never get to see these pitching battles.
Both of them working on 2-hit shutouts. For Key, he'll face Mark Lemke here in the bottom of the 5th. Catches the outside corner. 0-1. If you're trying to get a comparison, what can you look for from Jimmy Key? If you've seen Tom Glavine pitch, a lot of similarities. They both like to go down and away. That's outside, 1-1. And how many times have you seen Tom Glavine pitch and seen Javi Lopez slide to the same spot right there you saw Chris Hoyle. Little outside. 2-1 on a perfect night for baseball here in Atlanta. Lemke grounds it to Ripken. I wonder how many of those he's fielded. One gone. Not many at third, but a lot at short.
Just an incredible string all the way back to May 30th, 1982, since he last missed a game, or since the streak began. He last missed a game on May 29th, 1982. Bob Horner was playing third base for the Braves then.
Been a few occupied that sack since Horner left it, and since Ripken started. Here's Maddux, first time up, grounded to short. Got a pretty good pitch. Fouls this one away, 0-1. Pete and I were sitting over there watching his first at bat, because if you recall, when Key came up the first time, Maddux hooked him with a big curveball. So we were wondering if Jimmy Key was going to repay the favor.
He will eventually.
Got him with a changeup last time.
Didn't show him one in the third inning. Let's see about this inning.
Staying on that outside corner, and it's 0-2. Look out, Eddie.
That's your battery mate, Greg.
Cuidado. Get out of the way. And that
Look
is
at Michael Tucker.
I think the players are having fun.
I think the fans are too.
There's that curveball, and Maddux wouldn't chase it. It's 1-2. Well, you got here. He's hiding. You got here about 4 o'clock today, maybe a little before, and they were already.
Unbelievable. The same kind of activity we've seen here at postseason games at that time of day.
One big difference I've noticed, though, than now in postseason play. Well, more than one, but the pitch to Maddux, inside corner, that'll do it. Maddux is gone the way Maddux would have pitched Maddux. Inside fastball, 4 strikeouts for Jimmy Key, 2 gone in the 5th inning.
And that look by Greg Maddux out toward Jimmy Key was a look of respect. After taking the third strike, he started back toward the Braves dugout. He just sort of looked out at Jimmy Key as if to say, you know what you're doing, don't you?
Yeah, I recognize that pitch. Back to the top of the batting order, it's Blauser. He has one of the 2 Braves hits. The other time grounded to Cal Ripken at third. Fouls it away, 0-1. With a lineup change made so close to the beginning of the ballgame, why Blauser in the leadoff spot, Pete?
Well, he's been the most versatile guy in the order all year. He's hit first, he's hit third, he's hit fifth, he's hit sixth, he's hit seventh, he's hit eighth most of the time. Doesn't bother him.
The 0-1 from Jimmy Key. Knee high, National League strike, 0-2. And probably when you look up and down the stats, you see a .430 on base percentage. That helps a little bit too. Blauser at .345. That'll do it. Jimmy Key doing some painting here in the 5th inning. A pair of strikeouts. He set down 5 in a row. We've completed 5. It's a pitcher's duel. No score.
And here's tonight's Budweiser game summary. It's a scoreless duel through 5. Greg Maddux and Jimmy Key matching zeros. The Braves a late lineup change. Kenny Lofton having to sit out tonight with back spasms. Go to the 6th. Still no score. That's your Budweiser game summary.
Mike Bordick to lead it off. Sends one out of play right side. That may be one of the easiest ones we've had this year, huh? No balls and 1 strike to Bordick. First time up, he tapped back to Maddux.
Once you got past those first 2 lines in the Budweiser game summary,
that's it.
Tough to find much else to say about this one. It's been pitching all the way.
Maddux living on that outside corner just like Jimmy Key, and he's ahead of Bordick 0-2. This spot in the batting order, they talk so much about what the designated hitter does. Well, it changes everything, but this spot in the batting order, the 8th spot, I think is influenced more than any other by the pitcher not hitting. Because with DH, you could have an 8th place hitter, little looper in the right field, going to fall for a base hit, the 3rd of the night for the Orioles. And Jimmy Key will come to bat. The 8th spot in the American League can be anybody. You can see a guy hitting .340. You can see a guy hitting with 20 home runs in the 8th spot. So he has to be dealt with. In the National League, that's almost like your wild card in the batting spot. With the pitcher coming up next, you can pitch around him. You can go right at him. You can do whatever you want. But the 8th spot, it's almost like you face a 7.5-man lineup if you're a National League pitcher. Key shows bunt, and a pretty good one. McGriff will have one play to Lemke. And for a guy who doesn't handle the bat and hasn't for a long time, a perfect sacrifice.
He's been almost entirely an American. Well, he has been entirely an American League player his entire career, so he hasn't had a chance to hit. But he was a good hitter in college. He was a designated hitter at Clemson when he wasn't pitching. And all of these Oriole pitchers, with the exception of Mike Mussina, who is not bothered taking much batting practice the last couple of weeks for some reason, even though he's pitching tomorrow. But all of these Oriole pitchers have been working on their hitting the last few weeks leading up to this.
And it's paid off for Jimmy Key. Lays down a perfect sacrifice. Bordick will stand at second for Brady Anderson. Hitless in 2 trips. A fly to left. And a strikeout. Takes one inside, 1-0. How do you explain his year last year, Pete?
Hard to. He never hit more than 21 home runs in the year before last year. 50 home runs last year. Back to 6 this year. That you can explain this year by talking about that cracked rib that he's been playing with all season. That's cut into his power. But where those 50 home runs came from, and if you'll ever see power like that from him again, hard to say. He never showed it before.
And it's not like he was 24 years old and all of a sudden matured. Look at the difference in 1996 and 97. 2-0. Out of play, 2 balls and 1 strike.
No, we've had our first American League pitcher get a hit in one of these National League games, and it comes as no surprise as who it is. Detroit right-hander Omar Olivares got a single in the 3rd inning. He had about a .250 average when he was pitching over in the National League, so he knows how to hit, and he becomes the first American League pitcher to get a hit in an interleague game.
2-1 to Anderson. A short lead at second by Bordick. To right field, a little looper. They're going to wave home Bordick. And Brady Anderson picks up the first RBI in the series. The Orioles take the first lead. It's 1-0 Baltimore.
And the Baltimore Orioles, who like so many American League teams, have a reputation of being one of those teams that tries to beat you with a 3-run homer, scoring a National League type run here. The number 8 hitter leads off with a single. Pitcher bunts him over to second. Leadoff man gets him in with a base hit to right, although he didn't hit it that hard.
And Anderson will stand at first. Keep an eye on him. He has 9 steals.
He's their biggest base stealing threat.
Alomar up twice, has twice grounded to Jeff Blauser. Anderson breaks and then changes his mind. Good throw gets him. But he scrambles back. It's 1-0 to Alomar. I guess, Pete,
Anderson bluffing here. Took about 3 steps. I think he might have been going. Didn't get the jump he maybe wanted. And then almost didn't get back.
Based on a conversation you and I were having earlier, I would think that you are probably not surprised to see the Orioles able to play a, quote, National League type game.
No, they've got a lot of versatility on their ball club. They've also got a manager, Davey Johnson, who's managed over in this league a lot and knows what it takes to win over here.
Pitch to Alomar down low. It's 2-0.
One of the Orioles, I forget which one it was, who had some National League experience before the game tonight, said over here in the National League, 1 run is a little bit more of a premium for you than it is over in the American League. A lot higher scoring games over there usually, although they've been down a little bit this year.
A lot longer games, too.
Well, one reason is instead of the pitcher hitting, you got a DH, of course, and the Orioles DH for the year combined hitting .252. So you take a .252 hitter with 4 homers out of the Baltimore lineup, put a pitcher in there. That's going to usually shorten the game up because it's going to not be quite as many base runners in that one spot in the order.
To McGriff and past McGriff. That's headed for the corner. Anderson will make his way around to third. Alomar stopping at first. The Orioles have him in the corners. Still only 1 out. That's one of those, if he is not holding him on, he probably makes the play.
And none of the hits in this inning have been hit that sharply. This one a little ground ball down the first base side. If McGriff was playing back, as you said, he would have made that play in all likelihood. But after going a string of 13 innings coming into this inning over his last 2 starts, where Maddux had only had 4 base runners, period, he's given up 3 hits and a run in this inning, and runners are at first and third, only 1 out.
Jeff Blauser, Mark Lemke looking into the Braves dugout, asking for their defensive instructions. It looks like they're going to shorten up a little, but they're going to play back and try to get the double play off the bat of Rafael Palmeiro. Palmeiro 0 for 2. In a festive atmosphere. Our first beach ball of the night, and hopefully our last. Palmeiro has flied to right, and he's grounded to second. So those two know each other. Strike at the knees, 0-1. Here is a guy you seldom ever read a lot about. But if you look at his record, he has put some of the most impressive numbers that have been over in the American League. Throw to first.
But he's always played on a team that has a Cal Ripken or someone like that on it that is getting most of the attention, most of the headlines.
Texas, it was Jose Canseco,
right,
wasn't it? He started, as the graphic showed you, with Greg Maddux, and he went to Texas in one of those blockbuster deals. Kind you don't see very often anymore unless it's San Diego and Toronto going at it. Ground ball foul.
Or Atlanta and Cleveland.
Oh, that's blockbuster in that way, but should have
not
been
quite
more
as many players.
numbers, right?
Yeah.
Texas got him with Drew Hall and Jamie Moyer in a deal that said Paul Kilgus, Mitch Williams, Steve Wilson, Curtis Wilkerson, and 2 minor leaguers. But they weren't through. Luis Benitez and Pablo Delgado were assigned to the Rangers to complete it. Little looper in the left center field. They're going to loop another one in. Anderson will score from third, a base hit, an RBI, and 2-0 Baltimore. 3 hits in a row.
And like the other 3 hits in this inning, this one too, pitch was not even a strike. It was about a foot outside the plate. Palmeiro just reached for it and dumps a little blooper into left field. Anderson scores. RBI number 46 of the year for Rafael Palmeiro. 2-0.
46 RBIs for Palmeiro. Put that in perspective as to what kind of year he had last year. That's 96 away from what he had. He had 142. He can play. First and second. Still only 1 out for Cal Ripken. A grounder to second, a grounder to third. Maddux would take either. Ripken takes strike 1. Remember the first time I ever saw him, September of 1982. He had less than 2 full seasons. I remember thinking he is a good player, a talented player, and a hard worker, but little did we know then the mark he would make. 1-1. A nice collection put on your resume. Runners going. Grounder through into right field. Orioles play hit and run. 1 run in. Palmeiro will be held at third. So Davy Johnson pulling a little page out of his National League book. And the Orioles have another run. It's 3-0.
And a very frustrating inning for Greg Maddux. That was not a good pitch. That was right down the middle of the plate. Ripken didn't hit it that hard. He hit it through the right spot, though, as Lemke had gone over to cover. And he picks up his 44th RBI of the year.
He'll stand at first. Rafael Palmeiro is over at third.
Now, longtime Braves viewers may remember in 1981 when the strike was on that year. 81 we're talking about now. 16 years ago, Braves televised on the Superstation a lot of the Richmond AAA games. Cal Ripken was playing at Rochester that year. Wade Boggs was playing at Pawtucket. Little did we know back then what we were seeing.
Surhoff takes a strike, 0-1.
That's why fans who support minor league teams, you never know which player you're watching out there is going to go on to become a Hall of Famer.
And the two you mentioned are certainly destined for Cooperstown. The 0-1 to Surhoff. Swing and a miss. Maddux fastball right on by. 5 singles in the inning, and you stretch them all together, they might not reach the warning track. That sure puts to rest any theory that the Orioles are just a 3-run homer ball club. That's hit into center field pretty solidly. Andrew Jones is going to track it down, but it's going to be deep enough to score Rafael Palmeiro. Another RBI for B.J. Surhoff, and the Orioles extend their lead to 4-0.
The Orioles really haven't been hitting too much in their current road trip. They had gone 4-4 on the trip before coming to Atlanta, but the 3 guys in the middle of the order were hitting. Palmeiro, Ripken, and Surhoff, and all 3 of them driving a run here in the 6th inning. The rest of the lineup had been in a bit of a slump.
Ripken stands at first for Jeffrey Hammonds. He's grounded into a double play. 6-4-3, and he also got himself a single. He takes a strike from Maddux, 0-1. Do you reckon, Pete, Davy Johnson is enjoying this National League style of manufacturing runs?
Well, he certainly remembers his last trip here with the Cincinnati Reds when the Braves swept him in the National League Championship Series.
A ball and a strike to Hammond. But doing it with some singles, bunt, a sacrifice fly. Bobby Cox has bested him when they've gone head-to-head.
That's got to be one of the few managers that he's managed against with a record like that.
Nubber off the end of the bat. McGriff's got it. He'll make the tag, win the foot race, and that'll put a lid on the 6th inning. But the Orioles put it to good use. They pick up 4 on 5 hits and leave a runner stranded. Braves come to bat, are down 4-0.
Well, I invite you to stay with TBS following the game as Tom Cruise will star in Risky Business on tonight's Dinner and a Movie. Paul and Annabelle will be preparing Tommy's Tidy Whitey Whitefish with Rebecca's Sauce Mornay. That's coming up next on the Superstation.
We're heading to the bottom of the 6th inning. The Braves have some catching up to do. They're down 4-0. Second hitter in the lineup. Tucker to start it off. Chipper Jones, Fred McGriff waiting their turns at Jimmy Key, who is working on a 2-hit shutout. This is outside, 1-0. The Orioles haven't hit Greg Maddux very hard, but they have put 4 on the board. Giving up 4 runs to a lot of pitchers, not that big of a deal. In the air to center field, now drifting over to left center, but it'll be Brady Anderson who tracks it down. And there is out number 1. 6 in a row set down by Jimmy Key since he walked Andrew Jones. Some other scorers going on around baseball. At themselves pitching down in South Florida. White Sox up on Cincinnati 1-0. Montreal a 4-1 lead over Detroit. Do you know what this interleague play is doing, Pete?
You don't know where to look on the score sheet, do you?
It's fouling up our score sheet. We cheat off a little score sheet, folks. Here's Chipper Jones. Goes too far. 0-1. Pittsburgh and KC knotted at 3. Red Sox by 1. More pitching. A lot of pitching due. A lot of close 1-run ball games.
I think you'll see that early on, although we certainly didn't see it last night in Seattle.
And we'll keep you posted as we go along, including the Delta scoreboard a little bit later on. 1-1. We're talking about giving up 4 runs. A lot of pitchers do that. A lot of pitchers do it and win. So how special is it that the Orioles have tattooed Maddux? Tattooed for 4. That's only the 3rd time this year he's allowed more than 2 Maddux has been as consistent as anybody in baseball, but he trails at 4-0. It's 2-1 to Chipper Jones. Two balls, two strikes.
Well, these two teams coming into the series, the only two teams in baseball who have gone the whole season with nothing longer than a 2-game losing streak. And the Orioles came into this game having lost 2 in a row. So they're up 4-0 right now, trying to maintain that short losing streak record. If the Braves lose this one, they will have lost their 2nd in a row for the 8th time this year.
Full count to Chipper Jones.
Pretty remarkable to have 2 clubs in the middle of June who haven't lost more than 2 in a row all year. But that's what you've got with these two.
Out of play right side, still 3-2. Orioles carry a 12-man pitching staff. Well, in talking to some of their people, he said usually what Davy Johnson writes down on that lineup card is what you're going to see all night long.
He's got very durable players. You look at the guys in his starting lineup, almost all of them played over 150 games last year.
Another payoff pitch to Chipper Jones. In the air, center field. On the move is Anderson at the warning track, and he makes the catch. He is not just a package of hitting, folks. He can play some defense, too. Second out in the inning, second one recorded by the Orioles center fielder.
And I'm sure Oriole fans always cringe a little bit when they see Brady Anderson approaching the wall. He has had some problems with that cracked rib and a couple of collisions with the wall earlier this year, but he caught that one, had enough time to slow down and cushion himself up against the wall after about 4 steps on the warning track.
Here's Fred McGriff. Jimmy Key has walked 3. Twice it has been Fred McGriff. Pops it up. Left side of the infield. Cal Ripken has fielded a few of these, and he'll field one more. A 1-2-3 inning for Jimmy Key. Braves go quietly. The Oriole left-hander has set down 8 in a row. We have finished 6. 4-0 Baltimore. Top of the 7th, 4-0 O's. It's time for our Olympic Stain on Deck look ahead. It's more of the Orioles for the next 2 days. We will rejoin you on Sunday here on TBS. Then it's on to Toronto, where we'll take on the Blue Jays. And if you like pitching, check out the next 2 days. Mike Messina, John Smoltz tomorrow, Scott Erickson, Tom Glavine on Sunday, and more to come on Monday, Pete.
Yeah, Denny Nagel against Roger Clemens up in Toronto Monday night. Chris Hoyles leads off here in the 7th. He is fly to center and struck out. Orioles leading it 4-0. 0-1 the count on Hoyles. He'll be followed by Mike Bordick and then Jimmy Key. One ball, one strike on Hoyles. Two and one.
I guess one of the most asked questions, Pete, is what are some of the differences between the 2 leagues? Pitching wise, there's a little bit, but I think in all honesty, though, you have to break it down to club against club, don't you? You were talking about we were talking about Davy Johnson. He manufactures runs. I guess if you were talking about the strike zone, I think you'd have to say the National League is a horizontal strike zone. The American League is vertical. Don't get as many corners in the American League, and the pitch from the belt up is called high in the National League.
And that could create some interesting situations for some of these Braves starting pitchers in the American League cities, if that's the case. If the strike zone is a little narrower but a little taller, some of the pitchers like Greg Maddux, like Tom Glavine, like Denny Nagel, may not get quite as many of those borderline strike calls as they get in the National League. We'll find out starting Monday.
Yeah, John Smoltz could probably. Oh, got him. Tried to run it in on him and ran it too far. Got him on the back of the left arm. With Maddux, there is so much late movement, and that's one of the few times You'll see the phone ring in the middle of the inning with Maddux is out there.
Does not happen very often. Mike Bordick, the hitter, he is bounced to the pitcher and singled to lead off the 6th inning, and that began a 5-hit, 4-run inning for the Orioles. Out towards second, Lemke, Blauser, McGriff, easy double play. Alan Embry up in the Atlanta bullpen as Jimmy Key will step in. Key has struck out and sacrificed.
Although they haven't tattooed Greg Maddux tonight, Pete, you can already see a difference. That's only the 7th ground ball fielded by the middle of the infield by Maddux or Blauser or Lemke.
0-1 the count on Key. The scouting report that the Orioles studied must have told them offensively, first strike he gets probably going to be the best one you see from Greg Maddux, because they've been swinging at a lot of first pitches. That's a strike in the count. 0-2.
And that's a Tony Gwynn philosophy. Remember,
yep,
Gwynn saying it's not a 17-inch strike zone with Maddux, it's a 21-inch strike zone.
3 pitches, 3 strikes to Jimmy Key. Maddux out of the inning. That's his 4th strikeout. We go to the 7th inning stretch here in Atlanta with the Orioles up by 4.
That team over there will be, you know, in the World Series. We haven't been there, and we have a lot of work to do. We got to get better.
I'll tell you what, Don, as we listen to those comments from Rafael Palmeiro, some interesting comments, and a lot of the Oriole players saying a lot of the same things coming into this series. They're not looking at this 3-game series as a preview of the World Series in October. It's a long way to go before you can even start thinking about that. But almost all of these Oriole players are saying the team that you've had to measure yourself against the last 5 or 6 years has been Atlanta.
Right.
And this is going to be a test for us to see how we do playing them during the regular season. See if we measure up. See if we're as good as we think we are. And right now they are. They're up 4-0. Here's Andrew Jones. Lines one, left center field. That's got a chance to drop, and does, in the gap, and gets by Surhoff. Andrew Jones on his way to second, takes the turn, going to third, and he goes in standing with a triple. Leadoff triple to start the bottom half of the 7th.
2 things I want you to keep an eye on our replay. B.J. Surhoff, remember, originally a catcher, gets a little bit of a late jump and not a real good angle by the time they get it. But watch Andrew Jones run. Cruises. Now he can sneak a peek over his shoulder because he knows he has third. But Andrew Jones runs so effortlessly, it's almost like he's coasting, but he's eating up some dirt.
That's his first triple of the year, and it'll bring up Eddie Perez, who has popped to short, fly to right. Runner third, nobody out. Up the middle. Bordick, nice play to his left. He makes that play as well as anyone. The run scores. Andrew Jones trots home. Give Perez his 5th RBI of the year, and the Braves are on the board. It's now 4-1.
Talking to Jim Hunter, who is covering the Orioles here on radio, and he was saying that expect to see a lot of that in the weekend. Bordick, as well as any shortstop he has seen, goes behind the bag and makes that off-balance throw accurately.
Almost a Mark Lemke in reverse, huh? Lemke makes that play as a second baseman up the middle, as well as anybody you see. Here's Ryan Klesko. He's fouled out and struck out and is down in the count 0-1. 4-run, 7 hits for Baltimore. 1-run, 3 hits for the Braves. We're in the bottom half of inning 7. Outside corner, 0-2. I'll bet you Harry Wendelstedt hasn't had many easier games as far as calling balls and strikes in this one. You got 2 guys out there that know how to pitch, that throw strikes. And rarely miss the target given them by their catcher.
And don't you like it when the third part of that equation is an umpire with the reputation and the respect of a Harry Wendelstedt?
1 ball, 2 strikes. Down and strikes Klesko for the 2nd time. That's 6 in the game for Key. That's out number 2 here in the 7th.
I think he's shown a little more pop on the fastball than the Braves might have been expecting. He's gone down and away, and then up letter high. right on by Klesko.
He throws about 90, 89, 90. It's not an overpowering fastball, but with all the off-speed stuff he gives you, looks a little quicker. Here's Lemke. He is struck out and grounded out to third. In the left center field, that'll drop in for a base hit. So Lemke aboard with 2 outs. And now we're going to get a pinch hitter for Greg Maddux. It'll be Javi Lopez. Lopez on the year, 298 with 11 homers, 35 runs driven in.
A quick refresher course. There's the chart. Ray Miller was a fine pitching coach for the Baltimore Orioles. His second tour of duty in that role.
Well, you got 2 guys over there in that dugout, and Davey Johnson and Ray Miller, who know the Braves pretty well. They were in the National League, both of them, for a long time.
Did Ray Miller manage the Orioles briefly?
Managed Minnesota.
Minnesota,
Yeah.
that's right.
He's going to come out now and remind Jimmy Key of the scouting report. You heard Rafael Palmeiro at the outset of the inning talk about how the Orioles haven't been to the World Series, this particular group of Orioles anyway, yet, and they hope to get there this year. Well, Jimmy Key, of course, has been there. He's got a couple of rings, one with the Toronto Blue Jays and one with the New York Yankees. And Key shares a World Series record with Catfish Hunter. He and Catfish Hunter, the only 2 pitchers who pitched the clinching game in a World Series for 2 different teams. In Key's case, the Blue Jays and the Yankees. In Catfish Hunter's case, the Oakland A's and the New York Yankees. That's the clinching game in a World Series. That's quite a thrill for any pitcher, but to do it twice for 2 different clubs. Here's Lopez. Benitez and Orozco up in the Oriole pen. Runner first, 2 outs. Change up low and away, ball 1 to Javi Lopez. Hasn't been used much as a pinch hitter this year because he catches, of course, most of the time. Just 1 for 7 coming off the bench.
And when Bobby Cox uses him to pinch hit, expect the double switch. Probably it will be the end of the night for Eddie Perez.
Knee-high fastball evens the count, 1-1 on Lopez. Two and 1.
When you think about it, it's really a little bit humorous to go out and have a conversation with Jimmy Key or Greg Maddux on scouting reports. They're going to pitch the same way.
Low again, 3-1.
Give them a little information, but their philosophy is not going to change. They've been too successful doing it that way.
Here's the 3-1 on the way. Ground ball, left side, through to left field. Base hit. Lemke stops at second. And the Braves now with runners at first and second on a pinch hit single by Javi Lopez.
I guess I was wrong. Rafael Belliard is going to run for Javi Lopez. So Eddie Perez is still in there. And what you hope is that no misfortune befalls him, because if something happens, then I guess Mike Mordecai would don the gear. But a good at bat for Javi Lopez.
First and second now with 2 outs, and Jeff Blauser will step in. He is grounded out to third, singled and struck out. Of all the hitters in this Atlanta lineup tonight, Kenny Lofton had seen Jimmy Key quite a bit over in the American League, but of all the hitters on the Braves team, Jeff Blauser probably more familiar with Key than anybody else because of all the years that he has been with Atlanta when Key has faced them in postseason. He has seen Jimmy Key in those 4 postseason games that Key has pitched in. Well, this is going to be the end of the night for Key, and Davey Johnson from this point on in the game has a lot of maneuverability with that 12-man pitching staff. In his bullpen, he has 3 left-handers, 4 right-handers. So he can go righty-lefty on you all night long. And as Davey Johnson makes the Bell South call to the bullpen, we'll take this time out. Well, Jimmy Key has averaged 6 1/3 innings per start this year. He goes 6 1/3 innings in tonight's game, and he records 6 strikeouts. And watch the variety of ways he gets them. Outside with a fastball to Chipper Jones, gets him swinging, comes in and gets Mark Lemke looking, goes up and gets Ryan Klesko swinging, goes in and gets a called third strike on Maddux, goes away and gets a called third strike on Blauser, then up again on Klesko, using all of the strike zone. And the new pitcher, Armando Benitez.
He throws hard. He'll strike some people out, but one of the most impressive numbers on Armando Benitez is this whole year he has allowed 1 inherited runner to score.
I think I said Key worked 6 1/3 tonight, 6 2/3 before going to ball 1 on Jeff Blauser. Benitez 35 strikeouts in 26 2/3 innings. They have clocked his fastball up around 96 miles an hour.
A youngster out of the Dominican Republic who was signed when he was 17 years old and spent his first year playing down there.
Not a lot of finesse with this guy. He just comes right after you.
125 strikeouts in 96 innings. Career.
2 outs, runners first and second. Braves down by a 4-1 score. Outside corner, 1-1. There are your runners, Belliard and Lemke. On a play, and it's 1-2 now on Jeff Blauser.
Benitez looks like he'd be a little tough on a right-hander, Pete. Not only does he have that velocity you talked about, but he's got a little bit of a herky-jerky motion, a little hitch right in the middle of it that could throw your timing off.
Ahead in the count now, 1 ball, 2 strikes. And he got nicked. Jeff Blauser hit by a pitch for the 10th time this season. The bases are loaded.
This was only about 4 feet from where he was trying to throw the ball. Hoyles wanted it down and away, and that comes up and in.
And if you come up and in on Jeff Blauser in a situation like this, he's going to get hit.
Yep.
Because he has a knack of turning. Looks like he's turning away from the pitch, but he's actually almost a little bit closer to the plate than he was when he began. Well, the bases are loaded now for Michael Tucker, who has singled, lined into a double play, and flied to center. Right back to the pitcher. Benitez is out of it. The Braves leave him loaded. A hard hit ball by Tucker, but it's out number 3.
Let's take a look at our Delta scoreboard. All the interleague play going on. Milwaukee from up the freeway over the Cubs. Valentin a homer. Yankees David Cone shutting out Florida. White Sox getting good pitching from Alvarez. Detroit is getting beat by Montreal. That's 4-2. Toronto beating the Phillies' Beth. Kurt Schilling. Kansas City and Pittsburgh. KC down by 1. Boston over the Mets. Minnesota 4-1 over Houston behind Radke. Cleveland and St. Louis rained out. Pitching duel down in Texas early on. San Diego at Anaheim. Colorado at Seattle. LA at Oakland. All that later on. You're up to date on the Delta scoreboard.
And we go to the 8th inning with a new pitcher, left-hander Alan Embry, making his 29th appearance. 1-1 with a 2.89 ERA. He's got the top of the order to deal with here, beginning with Brady Anderson, who was flying to left, struck out and singled. His single drove in a run in that 4-run 6th inning. Down on the count, 0-1. Anderson 0 for 3 in his career against Alan Embry, who, of course, pitched with Cleveland prior to coming to Atlanta. Foul back. It's 0-2. Crowd tonight, a sellout, 48,334, 48,334. And all three of these Oriole games are sellouts. They are going to be selling again tomorrow and Sunday. Standing room tickets an hour before game time. Game time tomorrow's 1:15. 1-2 on Anderson. In the air to right, he got under it, and Michael Tucker should have a play out there, and does. One down. And now Roberto Alomar, who is also 1 for 3, had a single and scored in that 6th inning. He's 1 for 4 lifetime against Embry. Now we're going to get a pinch hitter, and the pinch hitter is going to be Jeff Rebollet. Alomar has got a bad shoulder that hurts him when he bats right-handed. Strained muscle in his left shoulder. Doesn't bother him batting left-handed, but bothers him when he hits from the right side. So Rebollet is going to come on against the left-hander and pinch hit.
Alomar is going to play against Tom Glavine, but look for him to hit left-handed against Glavine. He's already done that in his last 3 at-bats against lefties.
And we have seen some other hitters in the National League do that against Tom Glavine, including Hal McRae. One ball, no strikes. Brian McRae. Brad Klontz up in the Braves bullpen. One and one. Rebollet 206 for the year, a homer, 9 RBIs, 1 out of 7 as a pinch hitter, former Minnesota Twin. Popped up. Lemke is going to call for it. 2 down.
Good life on Embry's fastball tonight. A couple of the Orioles batter have tried to catch up to that one about letter high, and silo shots are all they're getting out of it.
Palmeiro 1 for 3, an RBI single in the 6th inning. His career against Embry, he's 0 for 4. One. 4 runs, 7 hits for Baltimore, a run, 5 hits for the Braves. We're in the top half of the 8th inning. Nothing in 2 on Palmeiro. One and 2. Here's the 1-2 line down the right field line. That's a fair ball. Maybe extra bases for Palmeiro. He'll take the turn at first. Good hustle by Michael Tucker. Will hold Palmeiro to a single. We've seen Tucker do that a lot. On balls hit down the line, he gets to him in a hurry, keeps him from getting into that corner.
Yeah, Tucker has displayed the knack for being at the right place at the right time, for hustling, and for doing exactly what you're going to see right there. No hesitation, perfect throw. Right to the cutoff man.
Second hit of the night for Palmeiro. Now Cal Ripken 1 for 3. He drove in a run back in the 6th. Has 44 RBIs this year. Embry had a string of 13 in a row that he had retired before giving up that base hit to Palmeiro. Two and nothing. Ripken faced Embry 5 times over in the American League and went 2 for 5. field line, but foul. All the way into the Baltimore bullpen. 2-1.
Rifkin is a .277 career hitter, Pete. You saw his numbers on home runs. He's got to hit over 400. And a little free publicity. Cal will be signing that somewhere tomorrow evening after the game. But the thing that amazed me is I went back over his numbers for a power hitter, and for as long as he's played, never a season in which he struck out 100 times.
Here's the 2-1. Little chop to short. Blauser, Phil Lemke for the force, and that's it for the Orioles in the 8th. Still 4-1. And we go to the bottom half of the 8th inning. 4-1, Baltimore on top. Jeff Rabelais stays in the game to play second after pinch hitting for Robbie Alomar. Come on, Braves.
There's a budding spitballer there.
Chipper Jones will lead off here against Armando Benitez. Chipper tonight has struck out, bounced to the pitcher, and fly to center. Those at bats against Jimmy Key, who worked 6 2/3, allowed 5 hits, a run, walked 3, struck out 6. Nothing in 1 on Chipper. Benitez, big and strong, 6'4", 225. In the air in the gap toward left center. Surhoff and Anderson chasing this one down. That ball's gone. It carried just over the left center field wall. Home run number 8 of the season for Chipper Jones.
And we have kind of speculated back and forth. It's still too early to know. Is this a hitter's park or is it a pitcher's park? I think it's still too early. But I do believe hot weather is going to make a change. Out away from him, not up. About knee high, but backspin and carry, and enough to get it between the fences.
Just enough to carry over the yellow line. Not enough to quite make it into the seats, but enough to cut the Orioles lead to 4-2. 8 homers and 46 RBIs now for Chipper Jones. Here's Fred McGriff, 2 walks and a pop to third. 1 ball, no strikes. Talking with Jeff Blauser earlier, he was saying that he could tell a difference tonight in the way the ball was carrying during batting practice. And this is really the first warm night we have had here in Atlanta since the regular season started. 2-0. Rabelais over the first, one down.
With that home run by Chipper Jones, Pete, another $35,000 goes into funding CapCure's mission to finding a cure for prostate cancer. Here's the number.
Andrew Jones will be the batter. He has hit into a 6-4 force play, walked and tripled. Good cut. 0-1.
We get so used to seeing the Braves and their way of hitting and being around the batting cage during batting practice. But it's only when you get away from here and you hear some of the other people who hang around the batting cage talk, and the unanimous statement is, boy, the ball jumps off his bat.
Sounds different, everybody says. And it does. 0-2 the count. Breaking ball caught the outside corner.
So when you say the crack of the bat with Andrew Jones, you mean that literally. Andrew Jones probably thinking that was just a bit upstairs.
Here's the 0-2 now from Benitez. Got a piece of it. Still nothing in 2. Orozco, another former National Leaguer on this Baltimore team, up in their bullpen, 40 years old now.
Yeah, he used to wear out Stan Musial.
Hadn't been around quite that long.
Former teammate of mine briefly.
Again, the 0-2 on the way to Andrew Jones. Struck him out. Benitez has his first strikeout, 2 gone in the inning, and Eddie Perez will be the batter. Perez tonight 0 for 3, did drive in a run when he grounded out his last time up. No strikes. It's even 1-1.
Benitez probably a little more effective with all that velocity in the movement, Pete, because you can't just go up there and look for it in one spot. He's had some fastballs upstairs. He's had them inside, outside, and that one knee high with some giddy up on it.
That drops in for a strike. 1-2. Two outs, 1 run in the Chipper Jones homer. It's 4-2 Baltimore. We're in the bottom half of the 8th inning. Pretty well hit left field. Surhoff's going to watch this one go out of here. Second homer of the year for Eddie Perez. It's now 4-3.
Eddie Perez, the more at-bats he gets, the more you become convinced he can turn on almost anybody's fastball. I'll bet you this wasn't a strike. Up above the letters, and again Benitez wanting to go down and away, comes up and in. That was at the top of the shoulder. That's a hard pitch to hit out.
So a pair of solo homers here in the 8th inning, one by Chipper Jones, one by Eddie Perez. And the Braves have climbed back to within a run of the Orioles, and this is going to be the end of the night for Armando Benitez. He leaves after working 1 inning, giving up 2 hits, 2 runs, both homers. He hit 1 batter and struck out 1. We'll be right back.
All of a sudden, it's a 1-run ball game, 4-3 Baltimore, and with that home run by Eddie Perez, another $35,000 goes into funding Cap Cure. That's a total of $70,000 raised for prostate cancer research already in tonight's ball game.
The new pitcher, 40-year-old left-hander Jesse Orozco, has been around the major leagues since 1979 when he first came up with the New York Mets. His role with the Orioles, sort of that Tony Fossas role. Over in St. Louis, he comes in to pitch basically to get left-hand hitters out. He's worked in 23 games, but only 17 innings. A lot of walks, 15 walks.
And Pete, speaking of St. Louis, just across the wire, the Cardinals and the Padres have just pulled off a 6-player trade. St. Louis gets Scott Livingstone, Phil Plantier, and Fernando Valenzuela. And going to San Diego, Danny Jackson, reliever Rich Batchelor, outfielder Mark Sweeney, and money. Interesting deal.
So while it was raining out there in St. Louis, they were busy back in that front office, weren't they?
Yes, they were.
Cleveland, St. Louis battling the elements tonight with these American League teams only coming in for 1 3-game series. If you get rained out in one game, you got to play 2 the next day. Well, here's Ryan Klesko to face Jesse Orozco. Klesko has fouled out to third and struck out twice.
Valenzuela was scheduled to pitch tonight, too.
Two men out. Braves down by 1 now. Now to play 0-1.
You might wonder for whom. Well, he was scheduled starter for San Diego tonight.
Give me those players again. Cardinals get Fernando Valenzuela, infielder Scott Livingstone, outfielder Phil Plantier. Padres get left-hander Danny Jackson, who just got off the disabled list. Relief pitcher Rich Batchelor, and outfielder Mark Sweeney.
I like Mark Sweeney.
1-1 the count.
Valenzuela was scratched, and Will Pinane got the start for San Diego today.
2 men out. One ball, 2 strikes on Klesko. Two of Ryan's 11 home runs this year come against left-handed pitching. But he's in a hole here. 1 ball, 2 strikes. That was the count on Eddie Perez when he hit his out. 2-2. Orozco's only thrown 1 home run ball this year. Here's the 2-2. Whoa, all the Orioles were taking a step toward the dugout on that pitch. 3-2.
And I bet you Harry Wendelstedt is saying, I gave up on that a little early. Look for Miss Angle. It's above knee high. It is right down Broadway.
And Hoyles and Orozco weren't the only ones taking a step toward the third base dugout. Now the 3-2 to Klesko. Strike 3 called. And Orozco gets the final out of the inning. But a pair of solo homers have brought the Braves back to within 1 as we go to the 9th. We go to the top half of the 9th inning. Surhoff, Hammonds, and Hoyles due up. Alan Embry still out there on the mound to pitch to at least Surhoff. And the Orioles trying to hang on here. When the Orioles lead after 7 innings this year, they have a record of 37-2, so they have not given it up too much when they've taken a lead into the 8th inning. Braves have pulled back to within 1. Embry's job right now to get Surhoff out. Then we'll probably see a right-hander. Surhoff tonight is single, fly to right, and had a sac fly to center. Inside corner, 0-1. Randy Myers up in the Oriole bullpen.
Interesting man.
20 saves. And quite a character.
Yes, he is. Provided me with one of my biggest scares in baseball.
1-2. That's that breaking ball Embry's been working on. It's made him even more effective against left-hand hitters. He's always been good against lefties.
And he's not giving up anything in his motion to try to get it over. A lot of people, when they're learning a breaking ball, will try all kinds of things to make sure they throw it for strikes. Embry just pulling through and throwing it with the same fastball motion.
Here's the 1-2. In the air to left. In his tracks, Klesko, 1 down. And here comes Bobby Cox. So Embry did his job getting the left-hand hitter out. And another effective outing for Alan Embry, working an inning in the 3rd, giving up just 1 hit, no runs. Brad Klontz making his way in from the Atlanta bullpen. We'll be right back.
again for you one more time. Brewers by 2 over the Cubs. They're in a rain delay now down in Florida. That one knotted at 1 apiece going into the 10th inning. White Sox by 2 over Cincinnati. Durham and Bell had homers. Detroit loses to Montreal. Perez, Telford, and Urbina are the ones that are doing the pitching there. Kurt Schilling, Philadelphia's finest, is trailing. Kansas City down by 2 to Pittsburgh. Randa and Womack have hit home runs for Pittsburgh. Boston by 3 over the Mets, despite a pair of homers by Carl Everett. In Houston, it's Minnesota leading. In St. Louis, it's a rain delay, but a lot of trades. San Francisco by 1 over Texas. Snow, that's tied now. Snow and Bonds have tied, and all the rest of the action coming up a little bit later on.
New pitcher for Atlanta, right-hander Brad Klontz makes his 25th appearance of the year. Out of the Braves bullpen, 2-1 with an ERA of 3.70.
Be alive on the first pitch and be alive on the first hitter. It's the first hitter that has given Brad Klontz trouble. 9 out of 22 off of him.
Hammond's 1 for 3 tonight. Bounces one up the middle. Little help off the mound there for Lemke. Got a nice big kangaroo hop. Throws out Hammond's 2 down. And that'll bring up Chris Hoyles, who was 0 for 2, was also hit by a pitch. Due up in the bottom half of the 9th for Atlanta will be the 8, 9, and 1 spots in the order. Lemke, a pinch hitter for the pitcher, and then Blauser. Jimmy Key, the pitcher of record right now, in line for his 11th win. Last year he won number 11 on September 11th. 1 ball, no strikes. Over for a strike, 1-1. Doing 1 to count. Two outs, bases empty here in the top of the 9th. 2 balls, 2 strikes on Chris Hoyles.
Every now and then, Klontz will throw a fastball like that. You're used to everything being down. That frisbee slider and then a sinking fastball. So hitter, you get so intent in looking down that when one pops in there about belt high, it's almost instinctive to swing at. There's his natural zone.
Hoyles almost chased it. 3-2. Got him. Hoyles caught looking. A 1-2-3 inning. Klontz records the first strikeout for him, and we go to the bottom of the 9th with the Braves down by a run. We go to the bottom half of the 9th inning. Quite a few changes for the Baltimore Orioles. Hammonds moves from right field to left field. The former Brave Tony Tarasco has taken over for Baltimore in right field. We have a new catcher, Lenny Webster. And the Orioles bring on their closer, Randy Myers. 20 saves, 28 games, a 1-3 record, a 137 earned run average. He and Mariano Rivera of the Yankees tied for the American League lead with their 20 saves. Orioles have only had 4 blown saves all year. Their staff has 29 saves, so their bullpen has been outstanding this year. Due up for Atlanta, Mark Lemke. Mike Mordecai has grabbed a bat. He will pinch hit for Klontz. And then Jeff Blauser. By the way, if you're keeping a scorecard, put Myers in the number 5 spot in the order. And you see where Randy ranks, closing in on number 300 in his career. Mark Lemke tonight, 1 for 3, a strikeout, a ground out to third, and a base hit. Four 4-3 Orioles, bottom of the 9th. In the air, left center field, fairly deep and playable. Anderson under it. 1 pitch, 1 out.
Don't look for anything fancy. Randy Myers just grabs the ball, squeezes a few drops of blood out of it, and then guns it.
In their 42 victories this year, the Braves have picked up 10 wins in their final at bat. Trying to do it again here. Mike Mordecai on the pinch hit now for Clontz. Mordecai in the air, 244, no homers, 2 RBIs. Just 2 out of 22 as a pinch hitter. Nice play, Reboulet, and a bad hop. 2 down.
Good play by Reboulet. Watch the tricky hop. He's getting set to backhand, then it pops up on him, stays with it, makes a good play quickly to his feet to throw out Mordecai. A little surprise, Pete, down by 1 run. Nobody's taking a look at anything from Randy Myers.
Jeff Blauser will. Jeff is grounded out to third, singled, struck out, and was hit by a pitch. No, he was swinging at the first pitch. I thought for sure Blauser would take 1. You don't ever like to let a pitcher off that easy.
Now down by 1 on 3. It could have been a 3-pitch inning.
Could have been. 2 outs in the bottom of the 9th. And the 0-1. It's 0-2. Or did he not foul that ball off? I guess they're going to say he didn't go.
No, it didn't go around.
So it's 1-1.
A little touch of class by Harry Windlestad as he asked for it. Extended both hands toward first, palms up. There it is. Didn't go.
1 ball, 1 strike, and Blauser got around on that one. 1-2.
Well, you're so tuned up to hit the fastball, and here's a high breaking ball. It's impossible to keep that fair. Barrel of the bat rolls right over.
One ball, 2 strikes. Myers began with the Mets, went to Cincinnati, then San Diego, then the Cubs, over to Baltimore last year. Had 31 saves for the Orioles last year, on a pace to save about 50 games this year. The 1-2 struck him out, and the Baltimore Orioles have won the first of this 3-game series as Randy Myers records his 21st save, and the Orioles hang on for a 4-3 victory over Atlanta.
And our AutoZone player of the game, you're looking at him. He had a good night offensively. He had a good night defensively. A couple of singles came at good time. Here's what they look like. It's back in the 6th inning. Braves have had, the Orioles had 3 hits in a row. Palmeiro just reaches out, bloops one in. It's an RBI. And then coming up to bat in the 8th inning with 2 outs. This time a little more with authority, and only a good play by Michael Tucker held that to a single. Rafael Palmeiro, our AutoZone player of the game, 4-3 the score. We'll be back with the totals right after this.
Orioles win the first interleague game ever between the American League Baltimore Orioles and the National League Atlanta Braves. 4-3 the final. Rafael Palmeiro, our player of the game. And Rafael, almost all of you guys coming into this series, we're looking at this series not as a preview of the World Series. That's way too far off. But as a almost to a man, you guys were saying, we want to come in here. This is the team that everybody measures themselves against the last few years. And that's what we want to find out, if we're capable of playing against them and playing against them well.
Right. You know, they are the best in baseball, and they've been the best for the last 5 years. You know, I know a lot of people are talking about us and them in the World Series, but, you know, I'm sure they're going to be there. Us, I don't know. We got to get better, and we have a long ways to go.
Rafael, Don Sutton, did you go up there with any particular philosophy against Greg Maddux?
Well, I was going to swing the bat early in the count. I didn't want to get deep in the count because that's when he gets tough. I know he likes to get ahead, and I was up there swinging early.
How do you guys prepare for him? You have a scouting report, or you try to compare him to somebody that you might be seeing in the American League?
No, there's no one like Greg. I mean, he's probably the best pitcher in the game. There is no scouting report. He's got so many great pitches, and he's in command. And you just try to see a good pitch, and if he makes a mistake, which he probably doesn't very much, you just take advantage of it.
As you look at a guy like Greg Maddux and the success he's had in his career, you guys were teammates at one time, long time ago, with the Chicago Cubs.
Wasn't that long ago.
Did you have any idea back then that Greg Maddux was going to become the kind of pitcher he has become? Could you see it that early?
Yeah, when we played in '88, I believe, he won 15 games for the All-Star break, and I knew that Greg was going to be a great pitcher. You know, I just wanted to stay in Chicago with him, and you know, didn't get that chance, but I'm glad that he's had the success here in Atlanta, and I always root for him.
You're a guy who have put together a very impressive career. You hit homers, you hit for a batting average, you play defense, but it seems like you keep putting up those good numbers, but there's always somebody on the team that seems to get more of the headlines. Are you comfortable with that?
Yeah, I'm all right with it. You know, when you're playing with a guy like Cal Ripken, who's done incredible things in this game, I don't have a problem, you know, taking a back seat. You know, we have a good team, and right now we're playing good baseball, and that's all I'm concerned with.
One final question, Rafael. You made the statement earlier that your team has to get better to get to a World Series. You guys are 43-19 now, best record in baseball. What areas of your ball club do you feel have to get better?
Well, I think we need to get better offensively, and I think we need to get better on the defense. And just get better as we go along. You know, each team in baseball is going to get better as the season progresses, and we need to get better if we're gonna make that push.
Your first impression of interleague play, you like it or no?
Well, I think it's great for the fans, but as their players came over to first base, I asked all of them, and they didn't care much about it. I mean, but I'm sure for the fans and the media, it's great.
Well,
okay.
What our third final question of the night. First impression of Turner Field.
Oh, this is great. But, you know, I'm used to playing at Camden Yards, which is very nice. But this is outstanding. This is awesome.
Okay, thank you, Rafael, for being our guest. Rafael Palmeiro receives an Advantix 3600 camera from Kodak, and we'll be back to wrap it up from Turner Field.